Shining star. We put you right there.
Where's your Chase? Where you at? Chase right there.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. At some point, I will acknowledge all of our alders that are here with us today, but I'm grateful to be joined by my colleagues. This is a great day for the city of Chicago as we pass the 2024 budget and truly begin the work of investing in our people and all of our communities. We would not be here without the hard work and commitment and the talent of our budget director, Annette Guzman, the Office of Budget Management, our comptroller, Chase Redwinkle, and our Chief Financial Officer, Jill Jarowski. Today's vote is an acknowledgement of their hard work to produce a balanced budget that makes critical investments and adheres to fiscal responsibility, and does so without overburdening working families while still meeting our obligations to retirees who have dedicated their lives and have provided incredible service to our city. Their work on this budget has certainly contributed to another credit rating upgrade and has earned the support of a range of institutions. We have support from Good Kids Mad City to the Civic Federation. You all know what's in this budget. We did everything I said I would do. I kept my word. 4,000 new jobs for young people. $250 million for our city's unhoused population. $100 million for violence prevention and intervention. 100 new detectives in our police department. $53 million for our city's lead service line replacement program. And we reestablished the Department of the Environment. We are expanding the Department of Housing's home repair program with an additional $10 million of investment and increasing funding for the home modification program administered by our Office of People with Disabilities. We are reopening mental health clinics to create stronger mental health safety net. And in collaboration with our leaders in the Automatic Black Caucus, we have created the first ever Office of Reentry to ensure that returning residents have everything that they need to thrive and to be productive contributors to our communities. Now, as far as the newly arrivals, this budget demonstrates our commitment to doing our part as Chicagoans, to welcome new arrivals and to address this local, state, federal, and international crises. Our budget invests $150 million into our mission to support new arrivals from the southern border. And this week, both the state and the county will announce new investments to meet the needs of this humanitarian crisis. Our plan is anchored by a three-part vision, creating a pathway for those in our care to economically and culturally contribute to Chicago and receive the next generation like the immigrant communities before them. Making sure Chicagoans are the ones who are employed, doing the work, and providing the services as much as possible. And finally, building public infrastructure for public good so that all Chicago can benefit. Combined investments from the city, county, and state are part of a clear and concrete plan, much of which has already been expressed. And today we are announcing the next phase of this plan. We are increasing personnel at the landing zone and staging areas to facilitate connections to other destinations for individuals who do not wish to stay in Chicago, and reunite them with family members and sponsors outside of our city. We are implementing a tiered 60-day shelter stay limit combined with robust case management and workforce access to move new arrivals through our system to self-sufficiency and economic stability. And we are implementing regulatory tools starting this weekend to cite and fine bus companies that disregard our curfews, landing zone locations, and loading and unloading rules. Above all, we are treating our new neighbors with compassion because it is the humane thing to do. Because with support, they can become productive members of our communities, contributing to our economy, our culture, and our society. We are being fiscally responsible and respecting the taxpayers of Chicago. I sincerely thank city leaders, staff partners, volunteers, and everyday Chicagoans who have stepped up in this very crucial mission that we all are enduring. And finally, in closing, the smart choices we made with this budget, which acknowledge the need and responsibility for other governments to invest in this crisis, has allowed us to keep our promise. A promise to never sacrifice the needs of Chicagoans in support of those who wish to become Chicagoans. I repeat, a promise to never sacrifice the needs of Chicagoans in support of those who wish to become Chicagoans. Chicago, I heard you and I hear you. I want to thank the mayor's office, the Office of Budget Management, City Department leadership and staff, alderpersons and their staff, and everyone who helped build the people's budget. In this budget and every budget, we will never forget that behind every figure and dollar amount, there is a real life being affected and a dream being realized. This work is important, and that is why we will do it together. We will do this work together, Chicago. We'll forge ahead collaboratively for a better, stronger, and a safer Chicago. Thank you all very much. I will now take your questions.
Hey, Mayor. So sorry, I just heard it, but you're saying you're announcing a new step in the migrant response, and this is going to happen at like the point of entry, the arrival point. Is this something that's going to be led by the city or the state? Is the funding coming from this budget that we just approved, or is it coming from the state? Can you share more details?
Yes, it's all of the above, and we will have more details. And we will make ourselves available Friday for a budget briefing. And yes, we will have we will have an entry point, a landing zone. I am grateful that the county and the state have heard our advocacy and their commitment to fund this mission. My plan has always been very clear, to create a system of care in a responsible way, while of course continuously investing in the people of Chicago.
And then this budget, it's going to rely on clawing back some money from CPS to help pay for their portion of the MBEAF pension payment. Is that, that's something I don't believe you supported before you became mayor. What has changed? Why do you think it's now appropriate for CPS to pay a large portion of that payment?
Well, historically, there has been a level of coordination that, quite frankly, has had some stall an administration ago. And so in this instance, my office and my budget team worked with CPS to engage them in a more collaborative approach for them to understand what our entire responsibility has to be as a city. As you know, and as all of you know, I have a strong commitment to make sure that we are protecting the retirement security of those who do the work for the people of Chicago. And my commitment still stands.
Hi, Mayor. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. I have a question about the police budget. I know that the expansion of CPD's Victim Service Unit aligns with your campaign pledge to increase support for victims and survivors of gender-based violence, but gender-based violence advocates are asking that you redistribute dollars for these positions with CPD to already existing community orgs. So my question is, have you talked with gender-based violence advocates about these positions within CPD, and will you consider their ask that you redistribute monies for those positions to already existing organizations?
Well, look, it's been, quite the journey to get to this point to actually have, a budget that is responsive to what community members have asked. And, individuals who have experienced a tremendous amount of harm through gender-based violence, that the important ask in this moment was to make sure that we are investing in providing real services and support. Now, whether or not these positions, could exist outside the realm of what has been already appropriated, these are ongoing conversations. In the meantime, or the immediate future, I'm grateful that we have a superintendent like Superintendent Snelling, who recognizes that we have to do a much better job of providing aid and support for victims of violence, particularly gender-based violence. So the conversations are ongoing. My commitment over the next 3.5 years in my first term and beyond is to continue to make a budget that is available for the people of Chicago and to work even harder to make sure that everyone's wish becomes a part of the regular form of how we move forward in terms of budgeting.
Hi, Mayor. Can you expand on what the 60-day tiered shelter limit stay you just mentioned would entail? Does that mean asylum seekers will be asked to leave city shelters if they're there past that date, or? Well,
what it does is it provides us with a couple of opportunities. One, on the front end, we have to make sure that we are setting up these newly arrivals with the best opportunity to be successful. On the back end, part of the investments that the state will be providing is to expand a more expedited process for them to be resettled. And here's why this is important. When we look at how the Ukrainian families were received in the city of Chicago, those who were seeking refuge here, they had a community that already existed to receive them. We don't have that type of structure for Venezuelans. And so creating a more expedited process to get them on the pathway to work allows for them to become contributors to Chicago. So making those investments on the front end, we have to make, with the resources that we are providing, we have to make sure that we're setting these families and these individuals up to actually contribute so that we can actually have a return on that investment. These individuals who are here and who are prepared and willing and have the qualifications to work, the expansion of services that we would deliver to help expedite it is the balanced approach that I believe that the people of Chicago have been asking for, and that's what my plan, or the extension of this plan, offers.
So if asylum seekers have not found more permanent housing after 60 days, will they be asked to leave city shelters?
So the 60-day notification, again, with the expanded services on the back end, that will provide these families with a quicker and a faster way to be able to contribute to our economy. That is the purpose of this extension of our plan, and that's the plan that we're going to administer.
I'm Joe Barrett with the Wall Street Journal. Congratulations on your first budget.
Thank you.
Got that one down. Good job.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to ask about the sanctuary city controversy that's been going on. I mean, we've had a couple of meetings that were interrupted today. You had cheers from the stands. What's the next step with that? I mean, is there a chance that there'll be something on the ballot about removing our sanctuary city status, or and when is this going to come up again before the council?
Well, look, this is an international crisis. Global population shift is not just happening in the city of Chicago. The European Union is experiencing this right now. The number of individuals from the continent of Africa that are being displaced as a result of just poor policy and environmental shifts, the entire globe is experiencing this. This is not just a Chicago dynamic. And quite frankly, other major cities are experiencing this crisis as well. 70%, I believe, of asylum seekers in New York are from the continent of Africa. You know, and so the failure of our federal government to respond to the crisis a decade ago, now you're seeing the full manifestation of it. And so I just want to make sure that we are providing the full context, that this is not confined to the city of Chicago. As far as the next steps, you know, the office behind me, Anton Cermak's desk is there. We don't talk a lot about Anton Cermak. He technically was another West Sider, technically. Yeah, exactly. And when he ran for mayor, 1933, I believe, there was a strong anti-immigrant sentiment that existed in the city of Chicago. It was actually, it was quite harsh. In fact, there was not only anti-immigrant sentiment, there was an anti-black sentiment. Anton Cermak convinced black political leadership at the time to leave the Republican Party and vote as Democrats on a pro-immigrant, pro-black liberation platform. So a multicultural, intergenerational movement of black, brown, and white folks calling for the city of Chicago to live up to its promise. We've been here before. If we can survive it in the 30s, we'll survive it today.
Hey, Mayor. How's my favorite shortstop doing? So last week you kind of completed a progressive legislative hat trick. You have Bring Home Chicago, you have PTO, you have One Fair Wage. At the same time, the business community criticized all those initiatives at a time when downtown vacancies are at a record high. So I'm curious, you know, now that you have those accomplishments behind you, what kind of olive branch, if anything, can you offer the business community right now, whether that's something that comes directly from your administration or from your allies in council, especially since it looks like that's not going to be the LaSalle reimagined?
Well, thank you for those questions. And if I get a chance to talk to Tim Anderson, I'll ask him that question for you. I presume you were talking about Tim Anderson, your favorite shortstop.
Oh my.
Okay, all right. Look, throughout, you know, my time as mayor, these first 6 months, whether it's been expanding outdoor dining, whether it's been collaborating with the business community around the One Fair Wage, you know, whether it's been, you know, collaborating with the business community around paid time off. I continue to show up every single day bringing people together. This budget reflects that. My administration reflects that. Who would have thought a year ago when I was running for mayor that Good Kids Mad City and the Civic Federation would support my budget? You know, we have support from the 34th Ward and the 33rd Ward. People of different ideological presentations, people who have constituencies that vary. That includes the business community. We're doing something new and audacious in this city by centering the interests of everyday people, the workers. That does benefit business. Everybody knows that. And so we have the fastest growing downtown anywhere in the country. Homicides are down, shootings are down. We have major investments that continue to come. Metro rides are up, Mondays and Fridays coming into downtown Chicago. You know, and so as one of the aldermen expressed today, that even with how we have balanced this budget and put together this plan, it doesn't harm the central business district. Folks are actually on record saying it doesn't. So we managed to provide TIF dollars in relief for the people of Chicago, which those dollars belong to the people of Chicago, while also protecting the central business district. Now, previous administrations have not been able to, you know, strike that balance. I, on the other hand, have built together an incredible coalition. Look at this stage. Look at it. Byron Sigcho Lopez, alderman. Brian Hopkins, alderman. I'm just saying. I mean,
I guess if I can follow up, I'm just wondering, you know, at a time when, like I said, the, you know, vacancies are still a record.
yeah, and look, and I understand what you're saying. Those vacancies, of course, are high because of failed policies from several administrations ago. And what I'm doing, we have put more money towards affordable housing. Alderman Burnett, Vice Mayor Burnett is here, who has been a staunch supporter of bringing things back from the 80s, despite the third of the council wasn't even born in the 80s. So we're building something. And look, I get that there are people who have become accustomed to strife and division in this city. But clearly, we are more united than we have been in a very long time. And so the central business district, the vacancies that exist, the poverty that exists, the migrant crisis that exists, that all of the things that I've inherited, we have put forth a budget to address every single component of what people of the city of Chicago have been calling for. And I'm looking forward to the next 23 budgets that I'm going to pass.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Were you aware that your senior advisor was trying to tie the fate of a homeless encampment with legislative votes? And will your administration tolerate that sort of behavior going forward?
I am not necessarily privy to every single conversation that happens throughout the city of Chicago. Now, if you're asking me, do I apologize for my administration advocating for working people and making sure that we put forth solutions to deal with the unhoused in this city? I'm not going to apologize for that. In fact, I'm going to invest in that. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
And just to clarify on the 60-day policy, can you just detail what would exactly happen at the end of a migrant's 60th day of staying at a shelter?
On Friday, we'll provide more details. There'll be a full briefing on the entire expansion of our plan.
Hi, Mayor.
Hey.
Mariah? Oh, that's okay. Mariah can go. Mariah can go.
You talked about the task for this new subcommittee on revenue to kind of attack that structural deficit. Can you specify the next steps for that process? Do you want them to come up with fresh recommendations from scratch, or are they tasked with looking specifically at the revenues that you campaigned on raising?
Everything is on the table. Everything. Whether there are new ideas that I put forth. In fact, I've called on the business community to offer up ideas, alders offer up ideas. I believe that we are better when we all come together collectively to come up with ideas.
And what are the next steps for that committee? Are they meeting soon? Have you tasked them with kind of a deadline for coming up with
If you talk to alders about
ideas?
meetings right now, you're going to trigger a whole lot of people. Look, we're going to do the work of the people. Clearly, we've been working very hard, and that's why the whole impetus behind the subcommittee was to do that very work. Every single campaign promise that I made, I've kept. And making sure that we have a subcommittee dedicated to revenue to come up with creative ideas and not subject ourselves to some of the sloppiness that have occurred over a generation now, that putting together a sophisticated, smart operation within the subcommittee, that is the full impetus behind why that subcommittee was necessary in the first place. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor.
Hey.
Let's hope you and Anton Cermak don't end up in the same fate.
Knock it off. Knock it off here. That's unnecessary.
A question about the Department of the Environment. We heard during budget hearings that it will not immediately have enforcement power, that a plan is going to be worked out. When do you envision it to have some teeth? When do you think, what's the timeline for that to be a full-fledged department?
Yeah, look, we're moving with great expedition. I mean, everything that, so here's the thing. There are some people that have argued that I'm moving too fast, right? Now, we have very capable people, and particularly Angela Tovar, who is one of the most brilliant minds around the country, you all. She really is. And I don't know if there's anyone better than her, quite frankly. You know, so the fact that, I don't want to blow past the fact that we actually brought the department back. Is it okay if we celebrate that for a second? And that it actually comes with real money? Now, if you're looking for hurry up, what's next? You know, it's the good thing about a full term. But what I can say is, as I've said around public safety, having grown up with asthma and still challenged by it, Austin on the west side of Chicago is one of the hottest spots in terms of environmental injustice that exists in this city. I am motivated, as I was when I ran, to make sure that we are doing right by the people of Chicago. And the people of Chicago said they want a Department of the Environment to be returned, fully funded with staff, and we're going to get to work to make sure that we are keeping to other promises that we have made.
Mayor, thank you for taking the questions. Back to Jason Lee. Can you tell me, is that the kind of politics that you endorse, quid pro quo?
Advocating for the unhoused is something that I campaign on. everybody knows. Look, Chairman.
But this is different. This is asking for a vote for in return for public safety.
So that's a mischaracterization. There's been a lot of mischaracterization of conversations all over the city. And look, I get it. You know, whether it's tension, whether it's, you know, what someone said or what else someone else heard, here's the truth. That we have 70,000 people who are unhoused in this city, of which 1 in 4 black students in the city of Chicago go unhoused. This is about advocacy. Whether it's my senior advisor or whether it's Alderman Vasquez or anyone else who has been pushing for real support around the unhoused, that this is what this has always been about. And again, I'm not going to apologize for doing right by the people of Chicago. I said that I was going to bring Chicago home. I said I was going to invest in the unhoused. There is no secret to what I said I was going to do. And my administration carrying that out is exactly what the people of Chicago expect in their mayor. And let me just say something to you, Chicago. Every promise that I've made, I've kept it. And that includes making sure that we are dealing with the unhoused in this city. And if anyone wishes to stand in the way of the people of Chicago, well, they're going to get rolled over by the people of Chicago.
Don't mean to be rude, I just have a deadline.
Hi, Mayor.
Hey.
So your budget passed with, or the spending portion passed with 41 votes, which was, I mean, a lot of yes votes. It doesn't include a property tax increase, a lot of good things in there, mental health clinics reopening. Do you think this might be the easiest budget that you pass during this term? Or, I don't know, I don't want to say it was easy because I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but it was a, you know, feel-good budget. I think Walter Burnett said it's gets at like the heartstrings of the city.
Yeah, it taps into the soul. And I'm going to take some executive privilege here because I can just feel the energy of our sister rising up in this room. I would argue that Annette Guzman would argue that this was not easy. Now look, and I'm not saying that you're characterizing it this way, but in some instances, particularly when black leadership is on display, as hard as it is, sometimes we do make it look easy. That's the beautiful part of working with black women. You talk to most black women, they would say every day is hard. Well, you wouldn't know it because the hair is done, they're smiling, they're still cordial, and have experienced some of the greatest microaggressions that this country has ever released on any particular people group. So as far as what it feels like, Alderman Burnett is absolutely right, because it's not just a feeling, it's a reality. Again, when I talk about the full force of government and bringing people together, that's exactly what I did. And that's what I promised the people of Chicago. And we're going to continue to work hard, even if it doesn't look like we're sweating, you know, but I appreciate the compliment because I think there's a positive way to perhaps respond to your question. Basically, you're saying we look good, don't we?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon.
Back to the migrant issue and the funding, the $150 million in the budget, a lot of people say isn't going to be enough. You've announced that there will be an announcement later this week. But really, how much are you going to have to rely upon the federal government to step up, especially in the days leading up to the Democratic National Convention?
Look, first of all, thank you for acknowledging the fact that, again, that this is a national problem. It's an international problem. And the federal government has to do more. Now, everyone knows, well, maybe everyone doesn't know. I went to D.C. a couple of weeks ago and I said minimally $5 billion for the country. That's what I said. And, you know, our congressional delegation, I'm in regular conversations with them. They know what their assignment is, just like the state of Illinois knows what their assignment is, just like the Cook County government knows what their assignment is. And, you know, as a public school teacher, I expect people to turn their assignment in. I do.
Can I ask how much you'd like to see carved out of that $5 billion for Chicago itself?
A lot.
Hi, Mayor. Few questions. Hopefully, I can get them all in.
Oh my goodness, y'all! All right.
How much money are the state and county giving to the city, and will that accelerate the opening of those base camps? Can you give us a time frame on that?
Well, look, what we have to demonstrate, and this is what I've said repeatedly that we all have to come together to address this crisis. And the state of Illinois, they'll make their announcement tomorrow. They know what the expectations are. Look, we have people sleeping on floors and outside. Our police districts have been overwhelmed since the very beginning of this mission. And look, I don't know what people expect government to accomplish in 6 months. I can tell you what I've accomplished in 6 months. And one of those dynamics is making sure that all of the levels of government are willingly participating in making sure that when police officers show up to work, that they go to a working environment that does not include them having an assignment that is not necessarily a part of their job description. Now, they have done an incredible job, as well as our mutual aid. But I think back to the other gentleman's question, we need the federal government to do more. The state of Illinois, they understand what our requests and what the assignment is as a sanctuary state. They know that we have to clear out these police districts. We got to get people who are sleeping outside, indoors, and we have to create work authorization in an expedited way so that these families can contribute to the economy, and also creating a village and a community so that when other migrants or asylum seekers arrive, that there's a community to receive them.
Are we the only city doing that?
What's that?
Are we the only city being willing to do that? It sort of seems that way.
To do what?
To embrace people as they come in. The city is not turning. The city's not trying to get rid of migrants.
Well, we're putting some restrictions, right, and some boundaries and parameters in place, but the ultimate goal is to make sure that these families are treated with dignity. Again, there was anti-black sentiment as black folks were coming up from the South. Look, the anger and the visceral reaction and response that some people have offered is, quite frankly, they are contributing to the seed of discord that is coming from the extreme presentation in this country that wants to divide us. And we're not going to allow them to do that. And here's the other thing. I know that there are people who are genuinely concerned about our budget. I know that. And they want to make sure that we are investing in people. When you look at this budget, from youth employment, we had 25,000 young people who had jobs this summer. 64% of them were black children. 46,000 applied. We're increasing the budget to hire 4,000 more black children, passing the peace book, dealing with the unhoused, violence prevention, reentry, what's the other one? Reparations, economic development. I mean, look, I'm not asking you all to just stand up and clap for the city council, but my God, when was the last time have you seen a city council as determined as this one to meet the needs of everyone?
Okay. So the Chamber of Commerce just had an event and kind of name-checked you because you weren't there. Did you get invited? Did you choose not to go? I'm just curious.
I get invitations all the time. I'm not sure if I was invited to this one. I mean, look, I will say this, though. I have had more fireside chats with the business community than rerun episodes of Martin. I'm just saying, look, I've made myself available for every single community, and I get it that people want my time 24/7. Every now and then, a brother has to eat and kiss my babies and give my wife a great big hug. And guess what I'm gonna do tonight as soon as I'm done here? Just that.
Hi, Mayor.
Hey.
When you announced this 60-day limit on the stay in shelters, are you concerned that will make the migrants living in the shelters concerned, nervous? Are you worried about adding to that burden that they are already facing under tough circumstances? And why announce it now, today, with that limit without giving them any of those details, leading to already a lot of concern about what will happen to them?
Everyone has concerns in this moment. Our residents have concerns, our new arrivals have concerns, and creating balance and addressing everyone's concerns, it reminds me when I taught middle school. It does, because in some instances, you talk to middle school students, one particular portion could have a tremendous amount of anxiety and fear, and then within 5 minutes, they can have hope and aspiration. And this approach that we have right here is to make sure that we are addressing the anxiety and fear that people have, whether you are a taxpayer or whether you are someone who is seeking asylum in the city of Chicago, while also speaking to the hopes and aspirations. Here's what this 60-day tiered approach does. It puts some onus on all levels of government to help move with some expedition to get people to work. Do you understand that when asylum seekers are coming to Chicago, do you understand that they don't want the police district and the floor outside to be their final destination? That's their biggest fear. And pushing all levels of government to do their part speaks to the anxiety and fear that people have, but we pull heavily in the direction of hope and aspiration.
Would it be incorrect to see this as the city of Chicago rolling up the welcome mat and saying that there is no more that the city can do for these asylum seekers?
We will always be a welcoming city and a sanctuary city. Now, as I've said repeatedly, as I put forth my plan, the plan has always been to get them out of police districts and from outside. This is not an omission of questioning our values. This is actually an omission that we have to double down on our values. A pathway to work, like many migrants and immigrant families have experienced throughout the history of this city, from the very first family to settle in Chicago, a black immigrant and an indigenous woman. That is the soul and the heart that Walter Burnett was speaking to. And that's what I'm speaking to the city of Chicago. Our soul and our heart will remain intact. We will get to the other side of this crisis, and we'll be a better, stronger, safer Chicago as a result of it. Thank you all very much. I want to acknowledge Alderman Irvin, Alderwoman Dow, Lamont Robinson, Matt Martin, Fuentes, Byron Sigcho Lopez. I got to check to see we have Mana Hoppenworth is here, Alderman Mike Rodriguez, Alderman Vasquez. I've mentioned Brian Hopkins 7 times during this press conference, Alderwoman Clay, Alderwoman Nugent, and Alderman Will Hall. Congratulations to the city of Chicago, and thank you to the city of Chicago. God bless you all. All right.